Hey guys, back with another video. Today's going to be a collections video. Now a lot of you were asking me to do a video on all my buck knives that I've collected. So here's y'all's request, and let me know in the comments if you want me to do a video on all my Victorinox knives I've collected. Now some of these buck knives aren't here like you've seen in previous videos. The two buck knives I don't have is the one that has finger grooves in it. I traded that one because I can always find another one, and plus it was way too beat up for my taste. And I found another one similar to it, but it's not the same one. I'll eventually find another one. And the other one I don't have is the Buck 113, if I remember right. Is the one I bought from a pawn shop. I actually sent that in to Buck, and it will be a couple of weeks before I even get it back. So I'll let y'all know, and of course I'll do that unboxing video when I get it back. I guess the first knife I'll start off with is the one I'm carrying on my hip. This is my modern Buck 110 folding hunter. Common buck knife. Everybody gets them normally with the 2020 stamp. So this knife was made this year. Now originally I didn't buy this brand new. I bought this from a pawn shop for $25, and it was very bad shape, and the blade was seriously sharpened all the way to a toothpick. So what I did is me and my friend Blake did a trade where he sent this into Buck for me, since I had never done it before at the time. And they put a brand new blade in it, brand new springs, polished up the brass for me. So thank you very much, Blake. It worked out good, and I've been using this knife ever since then. Next knife I carry is my Buck 119. Again, 2020 stamp. And let me know in the comments if you want me to do a video on comparing the one from the 80s to the one that you can buy today. Now, as y'all may remember, I got this one in a trade from a guy. I traded him a brand new 110 in exchange for this brand new 119, so it was a fair trade. And the reason why I'm not carrying it in the original sheath, which this one's in, is because I want to preserve this nice leather sheath. I really don't want to mess that up. So I just put my other 119 in this to help preserve it, because I'm not using this one anymore. And plus I already have a sheath I use for a whole bunch of knives. This is my little boot sheath I made a couple years ago. And I've used it for countless knives, and it fits my 119 perfectly. So those are the two I carry on me all the time. The 119 I don't carry when I'm in the house, around the house. I just carry my 110 at that point. But when I'm out and about, I carry both of my knives. So next is this Buck 119 from the this one was made between 1972 to 1986. I got a buck stamp chart, and like I said, let me know in the comments if you want me to do a comparison between these two knives, because if you know your buck knives, you would see there's big differences between these two knives. Anyway, this one, if y'all may remember in a previous video, I bought this in a $20 lot. I bought a lot of knives for 20 bucks, and this was in one of them, and this is the only knife I kept out of that, out of that entire lot. And it was well worth it. This thing on eBay goes for around $100 to $150. And I'm nice to at least get a buck sheath to put it in, because this one I originally carried for a long time because I didn't have a good fixed blade to carry. So now I've got two of them. I got a modern one and I got an old one. So this one's retired now. I don't use it because this one's more of a collector's item, even though it could be used if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. So that was a great little find. And the sheath, of course, fits it perfectly. Goes to show even the old knives can fit the modern sheaths. Next is this Buck 102. This one was made around the same year as this knife. Made around 1972 to 1986. Mint condition, never been used, with the original sheath still with it. My father bought me this. Thank you, Dad. I love this knife. This is basically the baby brother to the 119. Now, if anybody has any 120s, I would love to do a trade with you, because I really want one of these to go with this. I love the 120, and I really would love to have it. So anyway, there's the Buck 102. Next is this Buck 110. Let's see which one this is. I wrote them all down so I can remember what years they were made. This is the Buck 110 with the Idaho stamp. This one was made in... This one was made in 2005. with the Idaho stamp. Now, I originally got this one confused. I thought this one was made my birth year, 2002. Turns out it's not. This one was made in 2005. Still, I paid $30 for this one and another one, but I sold that one and kept this one. Well worth it. Very nice piece in my collection, and I bought this sheath off my buddy Stefan. Because all my buck knives, I try to get sheaths for whenever I can. So, there's that one. Next is this buck 112 that I bought from a pawn shop a while back, if y'all may remember. Has the factory reverse stamp. And this one was made between 1976 to 1972. Very rare, not too common. And I was lucky to find this one. And my father gave me the sheath to put it in. So thank you, Dad. Well worth the money I put into it. Hopefully I can get a modern 112 to keep and carry here and there. Next is this one my father also bought me. This is another 110 from the one dot on each side is... This one was made between 1974 to 1980. Very different when it comes to the modern 110, because if you look, this one's more square, this one's more rounded, and this one's definitely a lot blockier. Again, let me know in the comments if you want me to do a video on comparing the old knives to the new knives. That one back in my holster. But anyway, my father bought this one off eBay for me. He paid 20 bucks for this one, and he gave me the sheath that he just had lying around, and it fits it perfectly. Thank you, Dad. Next is this one I bought from a pawn shop a while back. This is a Buck Light with the red handle, but it's very well used, so it looks kind of purple. This particular stamp is from the... This one is from the 1986 era. Very good shape, still has the original blade in it. I had to re-tip it, sadly, but it's in good shape. And luckily I had this case lying around. So that's a good little knife. I don't quite remember what I paid for it. It was probably in a previous video. That's a good one. Let's see, did I get them all? Okay, those are the ones that don't have cases. Next is this other one my father bought me from Atwood's. This is a Buck 110 Orange Light. Brand new, never been used. Like I always say, if you're on a budget and you want a good knife, get one of these, because these are only 20 bucks new, but they're made by Buck, made in the United States. You can't beat that for 20 bucks. Has the original tin in it. That's the reason I've never used it. And it even has the sheath, but it's in the tin, so I don't want to take that out. Thank you very much, Dad. This is one of my favorite knives. You can pick these up at Atwood's, and this one was made in 2019, so it's only a year old. Now, one thing I always tell to every buck collector, if you're going to sell buck knives or collect them, get a chart of every Tang stamp that they've ever made, so you don't get the same ones over and over again, because I've done that in the past when I first started collecting these. See, what you can do, let me move these, is my father helped me put this together. This is a little book I designed with Camillus, Western, and Boker and Buck Tang stamps. Basically what we did is we printed off all the Tang stamps they've ever used on each company, and even Camillus, and we stuck them in this book, so that way we have a chart of every Tang stamp they've made. Like for instance, here's the Buck Tang stamp you can get off eBay. I mean get offline. You can print this off, put it on something, so that way you can tell the difference. And then here's another chart they have. So if you're going to start getting into buck knife collecting, I highly suggest you do that. So that way you can tell which ones are the older ones, which ones are the modern ones. So you don't get confused which is which. Close that back. Anyway, next getting into the last two. This is a Buck 110. Which one is this? Yep. This is the 50th anniversary one I got from Atwood's a while back. Oop, wrong side. Yeah, the box is a little worse for wear, sadly. Put that back in there. Anyways, y'all may remember I bought this one from Atwood's a while back, and we were looking at their clearance section, and I saw this Buck case, and I was just going to pass it off because I already have a 110. But when I flipped the box around, I realized it said 50th anniversary right on it, and they had it marked for $50, and I got it for $25 off clearance. That's a hell of a deal for a buck knife. And when I opened it, at first I was like, oh, I just saw this part and thought, oh, it's just a regular 110. But then, right here on the grip, you can see that 50th anniversary. Now this one is my birth year with the anvil stamp. This one was made in 2002, my birth year. So it's nice to know the year I was born, this knife was made. And this one's definitely one of my favorites. When I first got it, it wasn't in good shape. It had a few chips in it, and I fixed that, and the brass was kind of tarnished, so I repolished it and put it in my collection. And I don't use it. This one never gets used. I've only used it once or twice when I couldn't find my other knife. So for $25, you can't beat that. So this one I keep in the original box because I don't want to use it. And last but not least, the king of the bundle. This is one that my father bought me. Let me take the case out. This is a Buck Custom laser engraved 110 that my father also bought me. And he's got the twin brother of this. Let me get it out. I'm trying to be careful not to drop it. Laser engraved bolsters. 1 out of 250 made. And look at that engraving. That is beautiful. I don't use this knife. This knife is purely for display, even though I could use it if I want to, because it's still a 110 and it is still very sharp. Thank you very much, Dad. I love this knife. This will always stay in my collection. Now let's put it back and wipe the fingerprints off. That back in the thing. Rubber band because I dropped it. There we are. That is the king of my collection. Hopefully the queen will be the 120. If I can ever find one. So if anyone's got a Buck 120 they would happily do a trade on, I would love to see what I could offer. So that one goes back in the case. Alright, that's all the buck knives I've got for show. Now, like I said in the past, I don't collect Chinese-made bucks because I just don't. Buck Signature is making knives in the United States, so I don't collect China knives. Now, as a special to this video, I'm showing off 3 knives I bought at a pawn shop yesterday because no sense making a whole nother video about them because there's only 3 of them, so I'll just add them on here. First thing I'll show off is this Buck pocket knife. Now, this one, I will admit, got me. I was at a pawn shop and I bought this one for $9 and these two for $2 a piece. I'll show those in a minute. And at first it looks like a real buck knife. And the first thing, this is what caught me, is when you look at the stamp, there's no China mark on the back of the blade. And at first I thought it was a real buck knife, so I took it, bought it for $9, couldn't beat that, and I cleaned it. And then my father opens the rest of the blades because I was showing it to him. And this is what got me. He said, "You're going to be pissed off." I said, "Why?" And he opens one of the other blades, and there's a China stamp right on it. That was very disappointing, but I could still sell it and make a little profit off of it, but kind of disappointed this isn't a real buck knife. So basically what they did is because they knew people would check the back of the knives for the China stamp, so they stamped it on another blade so you wouldn't tell at first. So that one's going to be put for sale. I don't keep China-made bucks. I'm sorry, I don't. I was kind of disappointed that this is a China-made one, but I'll sell it and make a little bit of profit. Then this one's a little worse for wear. This is a celebration case knife. The Grand Ole Opry. Very worse for wear, I should say. Needs new springs, needs new handles, but that's about it. So I'm going to try to find new handles for it. And this case knife, I haven't looked it up yet, but I think if I remember right, this was made in the 80s. And it was in a $2 bin, so I couldn't really beat that. So this one I'm going to clean up and keep in my collection. And last but not least is this Hawkbill made by Powell Cutlery. Very rusted. It's going to need to be cleaned. So what I'll do is clean it up and turn around and sell it. So the only one I'm keeping is the case knife. The other two I'm going to turn around and resell. So anyway, that's all my buck knives and all the knives I got from the pawn shop. And of course, I'll do another video if I ever get any more. And I guess as always, stay sharp.